Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Tech Productions. Today, Bankrupt once again by Jake and Nick.
What's going on, y'all?
Howdy, howdy.
And today's matchup is me versus Jake. And right now we're playing Monopoly, trying to get three duplicates in a row. But my and Jake's matchup is I'm playing starter Gohan, the quote-unquote rainbow leader. And I'm going to talk about that later in a second. And Jake's playing Warriors Universe 7, Android 17 Red. So yeah, there's buttons, there's links, check them out. Let's get into it. So we talked a lot about this deck last week because I think you were on camera last week with it. No one has brought the starter deck or even talked about the starter deck at our shop. So when I was trying to find something to do last second, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to build this leader, take it to the shop. It's one more deck that hasn't been shown yet. And I was holding off on doing Spirit Bomb because Nick has been really working on his build for it. So we'll see that later this week, finally. And I had a thought process. Fluff had texted me. He's like, all right, I don't know what to do with that leader, so have fun. I'm like, no, I'm going to play Victory Strike. Watch me. I'm not going to name this site, but I was building my deck on a site, and they didn't have the tags right. So I was looking for the 3-drop Son Goku. I was like, yellow, Warriors, or I put Universe 7, and it wasn't there. I'm like, oh no, I thought it was Universe 7 card. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to pivot to doing a 3-drop deck, like a bunch of good 3-drops and a bunch of good ways of playing those cards for cheaper effects. Yeah, that site just had the card mislabeled. Jimmy's like, why aren't you running the Spice? And I'm like, because you can't, can you? I didn't even check my promo binder to see if I had an option there. So I am playing more or less a quad color version, which kind of, if I have the ability to play the 9-drop Goku, I will play it. If not, I'm just trying to put good cards on the board to kind of just swing to my opponent.
Yeah, just general good mid-range. And the deck has some pretty neat tricks when it comes to like the Z-stack and things you can do during the combat step. So I feel like there's a lot of unexplored potential with this Gohan leader.
And this is actually the first time me playing this Gohan leader because I did have to buy for the first round. So I misread this Z battle card. It has an activate battle. At first I thought it was activate main for some reason. I don't know why. But you're able to kind of like cycle around the cards, and then you can use the leader's awakened side to pull another card underneath it to the board if you have 3 or more energy, I think. No, that's just naturally you could do that. But the leader does have the effect where you could play a 3-drop on the board for 1 energy, which is pretty cool. You do need to be specifically a black or a yellow energy to do that. And this card also costs a yellow because it's a Z battle card. So your leader's restrictions do not apply to it, unfortunately. But the idea of the Z battle, the Z battle card Gohan is when your opponent swings, you could block with this card, and then they do their combo step. You activate battle, and activate battle says pretty much you played the Piccolo, and then you place this card underneath it, initially ending the battle afterwards because the card no longer is there, so the battle can no longer continue. Now, granted, if the Piccolo is counterplayed, then the Gohan sticks and the battle you still have to go through it. But yeah. I forget to block because I didn't realize that was an activate battle at the time, and I was just holding off till turn 3 to do activate main.
Yeah, so unfortunately, kind of we missed stuff there. And I didn't realize that Warriors of Universe 7 didn't apply to my Z deck, so I accidentally tapped a blue here for this guy. As soon as you mentioned that little tidbit, I was like, oh, well, there's a misplay in this game. But I have a red energy available, as you guys can see, so it's not too big of a misplay, really.
Yeah, I'm like, you have a red energy there.
Yeah, so I didn't know that Warriors of Universe 7 didn't apply to my Z deck.
Yeah.
Literally until you just said that.
That's how I'm able to play 2-drop Z battle cards in prison.
Oh,
because
okay.
the Z deck isn't. That's why,
I know the deck construction restrictions don't apply, but I didn't know Warriors of Universe 7 didn't apply either.
Well, maybe if it does.
Because that
It,
one is just that your Universe 7 battle cards don't have specified cost, right?
battle cards, Z battle cards. That might
Yeah,
be a difference. If we're wrong, put in the comments. But I think you still have to pay the Pacific color for it.
that would make sense. But here, I'm just trying to apply a little bit of pressure and play probably one of my favorite battle cards that's been printed in a long time, this 17. Uh, it can't be KO'd the turn it comes into play, and it comes into play during your opponent's main phase. It's a blocker with an activate battle, which restands it. It's 25, so it threatens damage on swing. And it's also got barrier. There's just so much to like about this 17 battle card. And it synergizes with your leader really well because whenever you perform an action with it, other than its activate battle, you're going to draw a card.
Yeah, it's really strong. For initially, you're paying what, 1 energy to play the Gohan?
2 energy, 1 Z to play the Gohan. So you're getting a 3 energy, 3 Z battle card for 3 energy, 1 Z as long as you use the Gohan's auto. And there's a lot of like neat tricks you can cycle around with these Z battle cards in this deck, but honestly, I just kind of like to get my 17s on the table as soon as I can and use them to control the board.
Now, I do have options in dealing with that card, but because that card can't be KO'd, it gets a little more trickier. And you did say it has barrier, so it does have that form of protection. But I do recall that there are a good amount of 3-drop Universe 7 cards that can get past barrier, and I do attack a few of those in here. So it's the idea of just being able to get them or not.
Yeah.
There I was just kind of reading the actual activate main to play a 3-drop, and what I'm playing here is the Vegeta from set, I want to say it was 16. It was the Beerus deck. The leader has like 5 life or something like that. But initially, it's a dual attack 20k, and if it were to KO a battle card, your opponent discards a card, I think it is.
It KOs another battle card. So if you KO a battle card in battle with it, you were gonna KO my 1-drop, and then I was like, I think you have to KO my blocker, and you were like, oh yeah, which is why I like touched it and then put it back there.
But initially, I just swung once, and I was like, all right, I'm passing there because there's no point in me continue swinging and leaving a card in rest mode for you to deal with. And if you want to snipe it, I want you to expend more resources.
Yeah, actually spend an energy. Like, Invoker can pretty easily deal with battle cards of that size. The problem is you actually have to have Invoker on the table, and it costs cards out of your hand. So a pretty smart move leaving it inactive here, because I probably just would have attacked into it and tried to remove it that way rather than spending a card at this stage of the game.
So we don't have metal leaders with these leaders right at all. So I decided to use my Golden 21 metal leader from TCG Metals as my token for this match.
Nice.
I love that art.
Pretty big. Yeah, it's really good art. And the cases that come with it really just bring it all together.
Yeah. And this is just a blank case I'm using for token purposes for right now. I switched it out before I came to the shop. So yeah, like that 17, which has the activate battle, which does the turn matter on that one?
Yeah, it's got to be during your opponent's turn, or else the card would be just sick.
Oh no, it would be like you would have to negate the first attack that you swing with it just to make you have to swing with another card to get the activate battle to restand it.
Yeah, but this way, if you put an attack into it or into the leader, I usually won't negate, and then on activate battle, like if I remember, sometimes I forget, but if I remember, the first thing I'll do is restand it. I've only played probably like 5 or 6 games with this deck still at this point. So a lot of times there's just a lot of things to do during the combat step and I forget.
Yeah,
here I just
establishing Gohan just to snipe both my cards up, but you are tapped out and I'm open energy. And this is a situation where you immediately sniped the cards, and I think you made a comp. You're like, oh yeah, activate battle. I'm like, do you want to? I can't remember if it was this turn, but there was a turn where you do some effects, pop cards, and then you like, oh, I want to activate battle. I'm like, do you want to choose my cards for your effects then?
Yeah, I think it was that this turn because I was like, no, I missed it, and we'll just keep going. But honestly, during that step, I could have switched my guy to active mode and had a blocker up here, which is just nuts.
So here I finally get the Gohan on the board. Again, I play the Goku, which now is 25k dual attack. Get the first swing out of the way. You block the second one. Now I'm like, okay, we're about equal power. I can expend a resource, and if he wants to keep it alive, he has to expend it. But you had the two 1-drops on the board. Like, you were covered.
Yeah. Those calm judgments are just kind of too small to really threaten anything. So they tend to hang out on the board and be pretty useful combo power. Additionally, if you combo with them during the same battle step in which I think it's either you arrive or you activate a red blue extra card. See there, I tapped red. Let's see. You can remove it from the combo area, which does get rid of the combo power, but you get to draw a card. So it's an interesting little tech you can do with that 1-drop.
So here I am doing the whole combo thing. Now, this Gohan is a 16k, and I think your Gohan's 15k. So, like, yes, you are thinning your deck out doing a combo, but I'm at the point where I either A, combo, or B, activate battle, like I mentioned earlier, which just kind of does a cycle. Now, in this particular matchup, I could fail. Like, so I use Sense Being to play, to give my leader a boost, and then I activate the battle. I did do it pretty fast, but you could respond in that moment if you wanted to.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Gohan only gives me Invoker during your turn, and none of my counterplays are cheap enough to activate with my current energy. Yeah, the Gohan's kind of just like an emergency Invoker button when you don't have your 17 on the table, because it only gets Invoker for the turn you play it, and it has to be during your opponent's turn. So you can't use it like a cheap alternative to the 3-drop Vegeta and play it during your own turn.
So, what was the process of gunning down the 2-drop Goku? Like, at this point, it's just a 15k battle card. Were you just trying to clear it?
Yeah, my thought process here is that the fewer battle steps I have to engage in, the better. Um, just because in a strange turn of events, I've kind of been the more aggressive player this game. And I think if I remember correctly, your hand is about like 6 or 7 cards at this point, and I've got a decent lead. But I don't have a lot of good invoker pieces really right now. Like I think I have one Emperor's Death Beam. Like I spent most of my defense on that one turn just kind of clearing out your board. And at this point, I'm just trying to end the game within the next couple of turns. So yeah, basically just trying to clear up the board and make you invest energy into attacking me again.
Yeah, and there was another situation right there where this is the situation I was talking about earlier. You mentioned the activate battle, and I was like, do you want me to kill my Piccolo though? And you're like,
Yeah,
yeah, just kill it.
yeah. I I could have been more, but I was like, yeah, let's just do that, and yeah, there we go. I was like, now we'll leave it down because it does happen that way. I should have declared the activate battle before arrival because once all the autos are being processed, I can't activate a battle in between.
Here I'm just swinging with the leader, getting you down. I mean, kind of poking where I can. I could focus on clearing out what battle cards you have, but I'm more focused on. I have a card in my hand I've been hanging on to for a while, and I knew if I need it in a pinch, your battle cards don't matter. And this Black Vegeta is actually pretty nice, where the deck could potentially shuffle itself back up. Putting cards back into my deck just to find later is always a good thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't put the super combos back in, but it does put in between 3 and 7. It has to be 3 cards, and then it gains crit and I think dual attack for the turn.
Yeah, really solid battle card overall.
And you saw I just put cards back in there, and now I'm kind of playing the Krillin, which will allow me to shuffle my deck and just kind of put those cards back or in other places.
Yeah, if you don't have a lot of sparking or overwhelm strategies in your deck, it's a really solid way to just keep consistent throughout the game.
Yeah, and a deck that there is no overwhelms I can play, unfortunately, either.
Oh, yeah.
Because this deck, you can only play 9 multicolor cards, and your cards have to be Universe 7 cards.
Ah. That's interesting. Interesting restrictions.
Yeah, I don't remember if Invoker requires a certain color leader, but I mean, most of the multicolor U7 cards have been out lately are Invoker related cards. And at that point, do you want a green version of that? Having Dormant as a possibility on top of your Invoker?
Jesus Christ. That sounds terrible.
So I did pass through open energy, and you're kind of debating like where to swing your attacks right now.
Yeah, at this point I'm got a pretty clear strategy on what I want to do. Kind of putting together the pieces to go for the 6-drop. I always forget this card's name. The 6-drop Goku that can restand itself and give the opponent's leader. There it is, right there. -5 for each 2 red and blue extra cards you remove. I'm starting to build a decent amount of extra cards in both the hand and drop area, and even though I'm taking some out for some active energy here, I'm still going to be able to get a lot of attacks off, and for that strategy to work, I need you to be at 3 life or less.
Yeah, and once I saw that card, I kind of knew what route I was about to be facing soon, and I did set up my energy to have at least one of each color in there. I think my drop has that as well taken care of possibly right now, in case I could draw into the Strength of Legend Son Goku, which I do not think I get this turn, and I'm resorted to kind of doing other plays instead. Now, there's one thing I haven't done a lot this match, and that's the I'm talking about the interaction of 18 and Krillin. So the 18 from the start deck, if she's in your hand and you have a Universe 7 card in the combo area, you can pay 1 to play her. That's a limit 1. But Krillin also has an effect where if he's in the drop and 18 goes from your Z energy into your drop, you could pay 1 Send Krillin to the warp to play the 18, which is always pretty nice. So it's just other ways of getting the green 18 out. And I've always loved playing this blue 18 whenever you have a situation where it initially costs 1. Like when you play it in Soul Striker and you pay 3, swing a Soul Striker, and then restand 2 energy afterwards, it's like paying 1 to draw 2, which is always good.
Yeah, I mean, it is a card that I feel like should be getting more attention than it has now that blue Android decks are so popular. Just a really solid battle card overall. It's different from, say, an Instincts where it has to hit the board, but it's not really threatening enough that your opponent wants to counterplay it. So unless they're really paying attention and know you need the card draw, it's probably not going to get counterplayed, and it's probably going to come in and you're going to get the draw and attack with a big 20k.
Yeah. And in that last swing, I just want your Gohan. I knew I couldn't do much to you, but I didn't want to get you any extra resources.
Yeah, just one less attack you have to fight off during the turn.
So, in this turn, in my turn, you had add cat blows to your hand. So I know at this point I need to stay above a certain life. I need not to go down to 3. Down to 2. Because if you could just establish the Goku and just cat blow afterwards, I'm done. So I went ahead and invested this negate here. to snipe your whole board and more or less warps all your cards. And it does it for every card, every color in my energy, which I do have 5. But you only get the 5k effect for every card you choose, if correct. So it gives my leader, it makes my leader 30k. So I feel a little bit more protected. And I forgot that Rival Seeker was, to play the 6-drop is practically free. You just gotta send cards back to your hand from Warp. I thought you had to pay energy for it. So I felt a little safe. And then you kind of just went through, I'm like, oh, yeah. And I think I asked you, I'm like, okay, so how many times can you swing from your drop? And you're like, it's when you put Roshi down or Sleepy Time, it becomes, I think, 5 attacks from your drop. But the card also states hand as well.
Yeah. So I think there's 5 red or blue extra cards in my drop area right now, and you have to send 2 to the warp each time. But like Bancroft was saying, I have access to the cards in my hand too, and it is a lot.
Yeah, and
unfortunately, I
did combo out the first attack, but there's no way I could survive the rest of the attacks after that. So I was like, yeah, that's it. I comboed out. That's all I needed to do. But thanks for all tuning in. Keep in mind those buttons down below. The links in the description. And bye.